Okay, so here's the podcast, and I guess I'll get straight into the topics that I want to cover that I want to discuss over the next 8 to 10 minutes. So off the top, why have I chosen to become a teacher? I think that it's something that I've always had in the back of my mind about in terms of careers. My undergrad was in psychology. I became a Marine Corps officer shortly after graduating college, so I never pursued that route. But every time that I've had exposure to teaching, whether it was as an instructor or in a schoolhouse setting, I really enjoyed it, and I found that it was very fulfilling, very rewarding. Being a mentor to young Marines and helping them develop their skills, I found that very rewarding. So with that being said, it's always been something that I wanted to do, and I think it'll be a good transition career as I leave and retire from the military. Now I've been a Marine for over 16 years now, and I'm enjoying it so far. And I would say that teaching almost chose me as well because I was selected by the Marine Corps to pursue a master's in education, which is how I found myself attending APU. Um, and obviously, after attending the master's, I have to give the Marine Corps some time back as an education officer. And then seeing what route that's going to take in my career is going to be interesting. But eventually, once I do stop having fun being a Marine and decide to join the civilian world, I think teaching is going to be a very rewarding career for me, which is why I say that uh, those are the reasons I chose to become a teacher, and also the profession kind of chose me. It all kind of aligned correctly. Now, I do see teaching as a way to experience connections, community, and wholeness, and I see that in different ways. I feel that mentoring young children and mentoring students, I find that very rewarding, or at least the idea of that, or the bit of exposure I've had to it is very rewarding. It's a great way to connect with them. Additionally, the handful of teachers that I've had the fortune to work with, I've really enjoyed their professionalism and how much they cared and how great of a teachers they were. So that connection was very helpful. And at the end of the day, doing something positive for the community, something positive for uh, for students, for children, I think is a very good way to contribute to feeling that feeling of wholeness. Now, transitioning into the topic of resiliency, right? I think that it can be described as our attempt to deal with lack of connection, community, and wholeness. And I can tell you that I've experienced situations in my life where I've had to be resilient. Like I said, I've been a Marine for a few years, and I've had a few deployments throughout my career, and those have been some trying times. Have been some times where uh, I've had to be resilient. It's very difficult to be away from family and to be in stressful environments, dealing with a lot of unknowns. So being resilient is key in making sure that not only do you survive, but you thrive in those situations. Um, it's difficult for yourself. It's difficult because you see your family missing you, and then the stress of the situation doesn't help. But uh, I was able to manage with that, and remain resilient throughout those situations by staying focused on the deployment goals and the tasks that we had to accomplish. Deployments are very busy. Have very busy schedules. So there's a lot to do and there's never enough time. Sometimes you're working from before the sunrise till well into the wee hours of the night. So you're always busy, and that helped me remain resilient. It helped the focus of my goals and the focus of the tasks helped me remain resilient throughout those difficult situations. And in addition to it, being a Marine Corps officer, I was obviously in leadership positions, and you want to demonstrate resiliency. You want to show that to the Marines around you that are looking for you for guidance. So not only did my focus on the mission help me, but on top of that, feeling like I had an impact on how other people around me dealt with the deployments helped me keep that resiliency throughout those challenging times. Okay, shifting gears here as uh, how I anticipate dealing with or having resiliency as a teacher during my first few years. I will tell you that starting a new job is difficult regardless of what type of job it is because you're learning new skills, you're learning uh, different ways of doing things. So for me, it's going to be a career transition. So it's going to be in a very, very drastic career transition, right? So going from being in the military to transition into teaching. So that's going to present some challenges I anticipate, um, especially being a first year teacher, learning the ropes, being quite a bit older than I think maybe most first year teachers. It's going to also present some challenges, and I'm going to have to be resilient in dealing with those challenges. Um, Additionally, I'm very interested in working in a school which has a large population of students that are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Um, I feel like that will help me uh, have some very strong goals that I can kind of focus on and really zone in on so that I can remain productive and not worry so much about, wow, I'm transitioning to a new career. I have a lot on my plate. But that feeling of helping someone in need is really going to drive me to focus on uh, being resilient during that time frame. Now, how do I plan on doing that specifically? I like I do in many other tough situations is I start by setting uh, goals that are measurable and obtainable, uh, and that'll kind of zone me in a bit instead of worrying about a lot of the unknowns that come with being a first year teacher. It's developing some strong goals, obviously through some help by mentors or coaches that can give me some solid feedback about those goals being effective. That way, I remain focused. And also, establishing a genuine connection with students, I think that is going to help me in this situation, just because I feel like that strong bond or that strong relationship between student and teacher is important, and it'll um, help me be more uh, resilient and thrive in that environment instead of merely surviving as a first year teacher. Most importantly, I think keeping the reasons of why I became a teacher at the forefront of my mind as I deal with tough moments or tough days, tough situations is going to help me as well. And then not losing sight of the fact that it's a fun career. It's great to have that interaction with students and to watch them grow, watch them learn in the environment that you created. I think that'll be a very good thing to observe for me and to help me in that situation as a first year teacher to thrive. Additionally, I think my faith is gonna be important in the situation, and that's because regardless of the ups and downs or the challenges I may face, I truly believe that everything happens for a reason and that the Lord has a plan. and I try to just open my mind, open my heart to those situations, and make the best of it. Obviously, in keeping myself grounded to my purpose and to the value of teaching. Those things are going to help me. Now, I've had throughout my life, obviously, I've had some cultural experiences that have influenced my desire to be a teacher. The biggest one is coming here from Mexico to the U.S., not knowing the language. That had a big impact on me. And then going to a school where I feel like I did not receive the supports that I needed. Specifically, I was not in the right classes based on my language skills level. So that hurt me a bit in high school. But eventually I recovered and did well in school ultimately. But my understanding of social injustice has also had an influence in me becoming a teacher. So I think that a lot of students in my demographic, so Hispanic, uh, from low income homes, need a lot of help. They need some mentorship. They need examples to look up to. And I think that through the hard work that I've put in over the last few years, I think that I can be that example for them. And I feel like that social injustice that they've received, or just the inability to access education at times because of language barriers or because of home situations, that can that understanding of that concept, I think, has definitely influenced me, which is why I'm interested in working in a school that is largely Hispanic and largely filled with students that are socioeconomically disadvantaged. I think I can bring a lot to the table for them, and taking my experiences and the things that I value in teaching, and the various different programs that I'm interested in doing while I'm a high school teacher. Okay, well, I feel I've provided the information that I needed to cover the subjects here. Thanks for watching.